Hi and good evening. My name is David, and we are playing our final game of Wanderhome for the time being. Um, so, as ever, if you want to learn more about the game, go back to the beginning, and I'll talk about it in a bit more detail. But broadly speaking, this is a game by J Dragon about talking animals going on adventures in the world of Heath, or going on journeys, I should say, more than going on adventures. Um, uh, Meeting new people, seeing new places, getting up to all sorts of hijinks. I think this is I think our seventh session now, so we've seen some of these characters travel quite far over the last few weeks. Um, this game has been arranged via the Gauntlet, which is an online role-playing group. We get together and play games, much like this one. You can sign up to play games with us. We have a sort of like an online gaming calendar, which is open to people to sign up. You can find that at gauntlet-rpg.com. There'll be a link to that down below as well. And as well as that, we also have a number of podcasts. We have a gaming magazine called Codex, and forums and stuff like that. We also do publish some of our own games as well beyond Codex itself. Currently, we have Brindlewood Bay being kickstarted, though we are, I think we're in like the last 30 hours or something as of the recording of this video. So there's a good chance that by the time you see this, it will have already completed. But do check it out anyway. It's a really fun game. Awesome. So with all that said and done, we're just going to go around and introduce ourselves, introduce the characters that we'll be playing this evening. Then we'll have a very brief recap on sort of what we got to last time, though. Excuse me. Only two of us were actually here last time, so it will be a fairly brief catch up, and then we'll start things off. So, as ever, Jose, if I can ask you to start off by introducing yourself and who you'll be playing.
Hi, everybody. My name's Jose, and my pronouns are he and him, and I'm playing Barnaby, the caretaker. Barnaby is an otter. He is, by nature, somewhat expressive and reflective, but not too organized or alert. He is the guardian of a number of small forgotten gods that live upon his person in some magical way. And he is looking for homes for them, but he's also enjoying their company while they are with him. Shall I say what happened last time, or shall we wait?
Yeah, no, that's
hold
cool.
off?
Yeah, you can talk a little bit about what we got up to last time.
Last time, we were at the Day of Song, a festival, and we celebrated it. Gus the peddler and Remy the dancer and Quoth the rook and I met up, and it was a hallow, I recall. There were hot springs. There was also a furnace that used to be used to create weapons of war, but had been transformed into a glassworks. And since it was a festival day, we were up all night drinking and singing songs and watching talent shows, and and probably woke up the next morning rather hungover. That's what I can recall of last time.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And yeah, next, don't know if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us about who you'll be playing this evening.
Yeah, thanks, David. My name is Donna. My pronouns are he, him. And I guess I'm returning for one night only as Tal, the veteran, who we kind of last saw at the Emeraldine Holes. Tal wields the sword, which must never be drawn again. They are Yes, they have a kind of a nervous tick about their face and a broken tooth and a billowing cloak that kind of serves to hide the sword and the odd shy otter beneath itself. Um, Tao is sometimes curt and sometimes tired, but yeah, I wonder what they've been up to recently and where they're going to find themselves meeting up with their old companions again.
Awesome, thank you very much. Yeah, Neil, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you'll be playing tonight.
So my name's Neil, yes, and I'll be playing Dom, who is a vagabond and a weasel, and he would describe himself as a gentleman thief, which he's not overly shy about, but at the same time, he does have maybe a bit of a chip in his shoulder about people looking down on him. Maybe hence the gentleman parts. It's often emphasised, and he's got a cloak and a big hat and a fancy belt and maybe fancies himself as a bit of a swashbuckler. And I'm looking for mischief, might be the best way of putting it.
Awesome, thank you very much. And yeah, last but not least, is me. So I will be, my name's David, he, him pronouns, as I believe I've already said, but I am going to be playing Quoth, the poet. Quoth is a rook. He is a writer. He's writing on a big historical epic about the nameless godslayer who once wielded the heaven's blade and the ruin left in their wake, and the slobbering god driven by a desire to understand and empathize. So that's sort of his obsession. He wears a long traveling cloak with lots of pockets sewn into and onto it. Always full of notepads and pens everywhere. He is always has a seemingly endless supply of half-smoked hand-rolled cigarettes about his person, and his hands are always stained with ink. As I said, I was here last time, and we had a good time at the Day of Song. We drank lots of honeysuckle mead. We sang, we danced. There were some really cool hermit crabs in like stained glass, blown glass shell things that was quite impressive, as well as some nice hot springs for us to all relax in. Today we will be sorting out our next stop, where we will all come together again. We will also be entering a new season, the season of is it breathe or breath? Bear with me 1 second while I remind myself. Breathe, yeah, that's it. The month of swarming. So we'll do our usual. We'll set up our new place. We'll go through what we need to do for our new month, and then we will find out how we get to where we're going and start exploring. So, I've set up another new tab, as I've called New Place. So we'll go through our usual process here, and either pick or randomly roll your choice. We'll need 3 natures for this place. I'll start with you, please, Jose, if you'd like to either again pick or randomly roll a nature for this place.
How about eeny, meeny, miny, mo? A cave.
Cave, cool. And yeah, Donna, if you'd like to pick our next nature.
I rolled a tower.
Tower. Awesome. And Neil, if you'd like to select our last nature.
Hold on. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna roll a mirror.
Interesting. Cool. So, yeah, cave, tower, and mirror are our three natures for this place. It seems like it could be quite an interesting one.
I realized, David, we had a tower in our first place, so I don't know whether we can maybe pick elements that are different from that first place, or do we mind having a duplicate?
I'm okay having a duplicate, but if you want to pick something different, that's cool.
Of course, at this stage, it becomes quite difficult to not get a duplicate.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I don't know.
I don't think we've done wilderness or desert or mountain or ruin or moor.
Yeah, maybe let's go with a ruin. Maybe a ruined tower or something.
Yeah. So this is in the wrong one. Not that it matters that much, but awesome. Cool. So we'll just again do our usual and just keep going around picking either aesthetic elements or folklore for these places. So I'll grab our first one. I'm intrigued as to what the descriptors for the mirror are. Cool. I think I'm going to go with, as an aesthetic element for the mirror, I'm going to go with salt flats. We'll go back around again. So Jose, if you'd like to pick something for one of the natures.
Okay. Am I unmuted? Yes, I'm unmuted. I'll pick a bridge from this world to the next as an aesthetic element for the cave. I'll put that in.
Awesome. And Donna.
I'm not sure how Quoth's research on the Heavens Blade has been going, but I noticed in the ruin there is a folklore about this place, the desecrated temple of the Slobbering God.
Ooh, excellent. And Neil.
Cave in the folklore section. We've got the first art and the stories it tells.
Oh, nice. Is that in the cave? Sorry.
Cave, yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'm going to go with a. Oops, that's the wrong tab. I'm going to go with. Actually, that's quite close to that one, so I'll go with something slightly different. Oh no, sorry, I wasn't going to go for cave. I was going to go for ruins. That was it. Ruins. I'm going to go for crumbling pillars in our ruins.
I'll choose an aesthetic element for the mirror, the sensation of an unfinished world.
I think for the cave, I don't think we have any people yet, so I will go with a cautious hermit.
Awesome, thank you. And yeah, Neil, either if you want to either pick an aesthetic element for the ruin or some folklore for the mirror. And then I'll do the other.
For the mirror, I've got the very edge of the world itself.
Nice. Ooh, sorry. And actually, no, I think that will be an appropriate one. We'll go for the final aesthetic element for this place. We will go for the ruin. We'll go for abandoned blades. Awesome. So we'll now just go through and just sort of ad hoc. We want a couple of ideas for animal folk that are likely to be found here, and any forgotten gods that we also might find in this place. I mean, honestly, from the sounds of it, it sounds like we might not find many animal folk here. However,
Bats. You have to have bats.
Yeah, cool.
I think we might have lizards as well of some variety.
Yeah, cool. I was going to suggest iguanas, but yeah.
Yeah, nothing much lives in a salt flat, does it? Naturally.
Oh, actually, the other one I was thinking of, I'll say fennec foxes, the ones with the big ears.
Oh, right. Oh, and what are those little are they like little kangaroo mice, or why I want to say jerboas or something, like these little mice that live in the sand dunes? Yeah.
Big feet. I think it's right, jerboas.
Jerboas, is that what they are? I'll have to look them up.
Something like that. Cool. And I think.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's good. Yeah, I think I like the. I like the idea of gods of like cactuses and other succulents, kind of like the idea of like dryads, but just because of the importance of the water sources out here.
Mm. Maybe another god could be the god of a passing mirage.
Yeah, that's nice. Awesome. I think that sounds like a good start. Anyway, we on the last usual question, which is what if anyone has a name for this place, then feel free to volunteer it. I'm wondering maybe just something simple like just the wasteland or something like that. But if anyone has a more creative suggestion, I'm open to it.
I like it could be. I know the folklore for the mirror is the very edge of the world. I wonder if we call it the edge.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Awesome. So we have our place, the edge. The next thing we need to do is we'll discuss our month. Sorry, I keep saying season. As I said, we're in the month of swarming, which is the first month of breathe. Swarming is when the air is filled with the buzzing of countless bugs. It's essentially like the bug mating season. So yeah, there's the bugs are a lot more active than usual. We have to choose. We have a list here of things that one of these things a place will lack. The others are all present. So the options that we have here are dewdrops on leaf tips, constant distant buzzing, ornate and elaborate displays, and poachers and hunters afoot.
So I think it's probably maybe lacking the dewdrops on leaf tips. It doesn't sound like a very leafy, dewy place.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Cool. So yeah, we can expect to find constant distant buzzing, ornate and elaborate displays, and poachers and hunters afoot. And then we can each go through and choose one of the options from that drop down for signs of the month, stuff that we're likely to see as we are traveling through these lands. So yeah, we'll go around and do these in order again. So Jose, if you want to pick first one.
Let's see. I'll do fireflies at twilight.
Cool. Yeah, and Donna.
Just take a quick look at the drop down. I think I'll whistle the tune, but maybe the source of it isn't quite evident.
Cool.
Bit of a haunted moors kind of vibe.
Yeah. Awesome. And yeah, Neil.
I think the building of cairns.
Nice. And I will go for I'm going to go for long walks in the evening, as probably about the most pleasant time of day to do that around here. Awesome. So we have one final thing to do for our month, which is every time swarming rolls around, ask the table, have you made a new friend recently? Mark 2 bug shells for each person who says yes. 17 bug shells are marked. That means there is a cicada season phenomenon this year, though obviously with the number of players we have, we will not hit that this time, unfortunately. But yeah, that is so yeah, I'll ask Jose, do you think you've made a new friend recently?
Well, it depends how recently the Day of Song was. Oh, what was the place called again? I'm blanking.
Old Barrow Forge.
Old Barrow Forge. I definitely made some friends at Old Barrow Forge. Those 3 wolves that reminded me of Tal, but would let me sleep in their laps, and Tal never does that. So they were definitely new friends.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that definitely sounds like 2 ticks for you.
I should be jealous. Is that what you're saying,
Barnaby? So yeah, Tal, do you think you've made any new friends recently?
It's hard to say, given that I've been off screen for a while. I maybe so, if we imagine that I've been kind of rekindling an old friendship with Tabitha over the last while.
That sounds good.
Well, I guess because that's the first time Dom and Barnaby and Tal have been together, so I suppose I've probably made friends with these guys.
Yeah,
we're your new friends.
Very fair. And finally, Quoth. I don't feel like Quoth has made any new friends recently. Not so much last time, or even the time before that, especially. I think it's probably been a couple of sessions since he's really made a connection with someone, I think. So I think that's probably a no for him. But awesome. Now we have our place. We've done our season stuff, so we can bear those in mind when we those sort of elements when we do stuff later. The last thing we have to do is usual beginning of session questions. So, what sort of place did we just travel from? I feel like, unlike last time, I feel like this time we have probably met somewhere else before we came here, because this doesn't seem like the sort of place where you kind of chance to bump into people. Though maybe we have, who's to say? But yeah, I'm wondering where people think we might have been before we came here.
Since this place is kind of the edge of the world, yeah, just thinking, because last time we were in a place that seemed much more central, wildernessy, but there were a lot of people congregating for Day of Song there, so it must have been proximal or close to a lot of more populated centers. So I imagine a long road that we walked to get here, a long kind of lonely road east for some reason. And how's the question framed again? Where have we been?
What sort of place did we just travel from?
Kind of building on your answer, I'll say I noticed that in Old Barrow Forge, I don't know whether it was an element you did much on, there was like strange piles of stones. So maybe, and we have cairns in this location, so maybe there's like a route mapped out through these constructions. Maybe they're petering out as we get to the edge, but it's kind of interesting.
And like remnants of an old road too. That's what we're following, like an old like when I think of old Roman roads or something, they, here and there you see their stones popping out through the grass.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I feel like we've also kind of answered the second question, which is, do we feel our journey has been long? Yeah, I think that's quite quite an obvious one there. And is there somewhere we hope to go? So again, I think I may have answered a very similar thing last time, but I think this is again obviously somewhere that Quoth is definitely actively interested in visiting to because of the place's history, or rumored history. But yeah, I'm wondering if anyone else has any thoughts on either if they have a particular purpose for coming here, or if there's somewhere else they're kind of traveling towards.
I think Barnaby is searching for a home for his the nameless ancient god that he is caretaking, the hurt one, and I think maybe he has these divination cards that he uses, and I think the divination cards, he asked the cards where he could find a home for this god, and they said travel to the farthest east as possible. And so when Quoth mentioned this place, Barnaby was game to travel east.
Nice.
So I think Dom, well, one, he's seeing little ruins and things. It sounds like there might be some treasure there, which might be at least his outward view of what he's after. But he also has a book of witchy spells that he stole, not knowing what it is, but he's kind of too scared to just throw away because he's worried about it, or feels like there shouldn't, something bad might happen if he does. So he's looking for somewhere to give back the spells to. So I think he's also looking if there's anything magical or something there. Maybe it would be a good place that he can sort of make an offering of this book and kind of get this curse sort of off his back that he got when he sort of stole this.
Awesome.
I mean, do you think we all met up on this lonely road together, or by chance, or did we all arrive here from different directions, or what do we think? Or do we just see us all walking down the road on camera and not wonder what went before?
Wave our hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm happy either way. I think whether we kind of had a specific meetup or if we did just chance into each other, I think either's cool by me.
Mhm.
Seems quite an out the way place. So I imagine it must have been quite a way back when there was rituals or plans. So I think we've probably been travelling together for quite a while.
Yeah, no, I definitely think yeah, it's probably been a while. We've been traveling on the road, but yeah, that's cool. Awesome. So our final question is as ever the one we do not answer out loud, but just think of to ourselves, which is, will I someday find a home? Awesome. Right, cool. And the last thing before we start off, because we did have another festival last time. So everyone feel free to mark and advance if you haven't done so already for last time. So I think as we are walking along this old but like surprisingly intact road through the wilderness, I think maybe we've had that sort of thing where we've been in that kind of scrubby hillside for a little while now, but this is kind of the point where we kind of come out of a little valley or over a rise, and we can see kind of the expanse of the salt flats spread out before us. So obviously that's kind of like very, very pale sand. It's like reflecting a lot of light of it, and there's a heat haze over everything. I think Quoth has kind of pulled the hood of their traveling cloak up over their head, but they're sort of, even with that, they're still kind of standing with one arm kind of, shielding their eyes as they try and kind of look out across the sweep of the landscape in front of them. And they're just silent for a moment as he says, it's so big and empty. It's like a giant empty page. I mean, I know realistically the sea is much bigger and so on, but it just doesn't have the same scale to it, I suppose, as all this does.
I think Tal is maybe nervously gripping the pommel of their sword, staring out into this kind of expanse of, yeah, what Quoth describes as this strange void.
And as the camera moves from the gripping of the scabbard underneath Tal's cloak, it just turns slightly, and you see the face of Barnaby, who's hiding under the cloak right next to the scabbard, trying to get some shade because he's pretty susceptible to the heat. And he has a frightened look on his face because he's never seen anything like this, this salt flat before. He's intimidated by the wide openness of it all.
I think Dom's torn between wanting to take his hat off and like cool himself down, but he's keeping it on to keep the sun at his eye and keep the shade as well. So put his cloak and kind of waft himself a bit. Actually, cresting the top of one of these hills to see the view, kind of maybe hot and tired.
Did Quoth take a moment to bask in the grandeur?
Yes, I did indeed.
Just wondering.
Yeah, I find those little those ones are really useful for kind of setting the initial scene there. Yeah, so and I think maybe that's at that point that sorry, what was the yeah, and I think Quoth starts like rifling through their through the pockets of their cloak and is starting to pull out a map sort of folded up from one of their pockets. But I'm going to ask what used to be here in the salt flats for anyone to answer, or for you to collectively answer.
I mean, do you think there could be a couple of things going on here? I wonder if there's a bit of kind of salting the plains of Carthage going on here, where whoever desecrated the temple also attempted to kind of destroy the surrounding countryside.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I think as Quoth pulls the map out, or in fact, it's possible even he pulls out like two maps that he's kind of holding up, like next to each other as the sort of wind blows grit through the air and stuff. But he's saying, if I'm correct, this this should be the site of the great battle that the nameless hero fought against the Slobbering God. It's said that so great was the despair after the destruction of the Slobbering God that the tears of their followers saturated the ground and turned it barren, that nothing could ever grow here again. I mean, that seems like something of an exaggeration, but it's certainly a very desolate place. But I think, and then he sort of peers into the distance, I think if these are correct, then some of the old temple buildings may be over there somewhere, and he sort of points off towards what might be some stone outcroppings, but it's difficult to tell through all the haze and the like.
Will there be shelter from the heat in those ruins, do you think?
We can only hope, and we may find an oasis or similar on the way, and he'll kind of check both maps again. I can't see anything marked on the map, but I'm sure there will be something.
I think maybe
Sort of like the desolate nature and kind of looking a bit skeptical at that. I won't bet on it, mate.
I wonder if when Barnaby kind of goes down the route, maybe he's eager to get there first, and he starts to see this, sight of the ruined temple, floating in the air, by a mirage, but it seems so disastrously hot in that kind of mirage vision that Barnaby maybe wilts under that.
There may be some fainting going on.
Just need some cold stream, right?
Are there cold streams anywhere?
We somehow have never picked anything Barnaby has found hospitable.
He has gotten some swimming in, but never in a cold stream. He's holding out hope. So what's it like when we approach the ruins? If we do, or do we get lost in a mirage?
I think when finally the kind of mirage flickers, the floating mirage in the sky flickers and kind of imposes itself on a realistic landscape. You see, I think the kind of disrepair and collapse is not the usual sort you associate with ruins. There's no moss, there's no kind of dripping wetness. There's all this kind of sand-blasted walls, and or maybe salt-blasted is a better word. And I think where once these were reputed to be like a riot of colors, everything has just been faded with the heat and the salt into this kind of almost kind of monochrome wasteland. You need to get very close to the walls of the ruin to see the detail that used to be here.
Awesome. I like it.
And I guess anything else that's been left here is kind of in this odd place of decaying and preserved by the salt, right? But everything is definitely kind of giving off this impossibly ancient vibe.
Yeah, I was trying to sort of like think through that. The because we have all these abandoned swords, and I like the idea of sort of just like them, like rows and rows of these swords just like embedded into the ground. But yeah, I was like trying to work out, like would they either be still I guess they probably have a sort of weird patina on them from all the salt, because I was thinking it's like, on the one hand, salt is really bad for encouraging rust, but on the other hand, it's probably dry enough here that that's not too much of a concern. It's
I I wonder if there's like you find this in like Celtic mythology of blades being like um, warped and bent out of shape before they're used in rituals or before they're used in burials, so they can't
Yeah,
be
yeah.
used. So maybe they've all been kind of destroyed in kind of a utilitarian way. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds cool.
So yeah, maybe they've been like stuck into these gaps in the pillars, and like that leverage has been used to warp them out of shape.
I think it's Barnaby takes shelter in a little bit of shade under one cast by one of the pillars. It's not much shade because the sun is pretty high in the sky right now. He turns to the others, alert, and he says, "What am I supposed to say? There's an actual thing I'm supposed to say. Hush, hush! Can you hear that? That's what I'm supposed to say. It was the hush part I couldn't remember."
And I think Rook is going to sort of stop and cock their head to either side.
What do we think Barnaby is hearing? Is it like the kind of absolute deathly silence, or is there like creaking or
I
something
think there's
strange?
a whistled, like the whistling of the wind through through the pillars, is almost singing a tune, one that Barnaby doesn't recognize.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Oh, and David, if Quoth tried to hear what Barnaby was talking about, he gets the token.
I know the kind of whistled tune is something from our swarming season, right?
Yeah, that's it.
But I think maybe there's like this earworm quality of it, right, where it doesn't quite finish. So like there's in the mirror, there's an aesthetic element, the sensation of an unfinished world. So maybe the whistling kind of just stops abruptly and then starts again, and it just feels kind of strangely haunting, or like something is wrong here.
Yeah, it's always kind of avoiding the tonic chord so that you never get that sense of closure or completion in the tune.
Be whistling through a gap or something to make different notes, but you can't see anything that it's clearly whistling through to cause it. It's just like these pillars and old worn down ruins, but I'm trying to think what's it whistling through, or like gap or something. Yeah, I think I said, yeah. Tom's starting to thinking, I'm kind of wondering why we chose to come here in the first place. Yeah.
Sometimes these research trips are to, thriving metropolises, but sometimes they're to the arse end of nowhere.
Expecting some like old ancient statues covered in rubies and things. It's not looking that way.
I think as Barnaby starts, he thinks he can follow the whistle somehow, and he starts off into the ruins a bit more, and I think he comes to a place where there's some broken, crumbling columns, right? That's what the aesthetic element is. Crumbling columns, where a number of columns have crumbled together, but there's a small space. And although the whistling suddenly disappears as he approaches it, he could have sworn that it was coming from this space between those columns. And when he puts his nose up to it, he feels a breeze coming from in between the space between these columns where there's only darkness, but it's like a small space. Do we have any burrowing animals? I guess wolves could burrow a little. We don't have any big burrowers here. Weasels burrow a bit, don't they?
So that will kind of have a follow along and sort of.
I mean, there's a cave, right? So
Yes.
There's a cave, yeah. We just have to clear out a little bit of the sand, and maybe Barnaby starts that process saying, "Friends, I think there's something here." And he's very interested because the air that seems to be coming out feels a little damp, like even slightly damp and cool. And so he's very motivated to dig and see if they can find a way underground.
Yeah. Somehow by I say weasels, the kind of digging second burrowing. They also do it as well. Make the hole a bit bigger so we can get in.
I mean, Barnaby, it sounds like you're asking to be tempted to go into this dark and mysterious cave, right?
Am I asking to be tempted?
well, the question I have to ask is, will you wander ever deeper?
Oh, right. Is that the...
that is the prompt.
That is the prompt.
Yeah.
Will you wander ever deeper? Yes, I will wander deeper. I think, Barnaby is interested. So as soon as, and he and I think, and maybe Dom also are kind of the smaller. So we of our contingent, and maybe we can slip in. Long, narrow bodies allow us to slip in pretty quickly into the darkness. And what do we see?
I mean,
Dom,
do you think that Barnaby and Dom kind of disappear into that darkness before Quoth and Tal know exactly that they've gone that way?
Maybe.
As if they've kind of disappeared.
They were there a second ago.
Yeah.
Assuming that happens, but yeah.
Yeah. I guess this is maybe the initial parts of the cave look like this was originally part of the temple complex. And there was just like some kind of cave-in or slide that kind of buried some of it. And yeah, I think maybe then after a while it opens up into this really spectacular gallery of light. There's I guess shining stalactites and such, and maybe some like sounds of water, right? Some trickling sounds.
I like the idea as well that like I think there's definitely some like obviously like some shafts of light coming in from the sky above, but also there are like clearly like swarms of fireflies frittering around the room. So there's kind of that light like bouncing off the stalactites, almost giving it that kind of disco ball kind of effect. In the
with all the buzzing of the flies around the chamber, so it goes from being like almost quiet to this and so what's that noise? And then suddenly you go in the same clouds buzzing and it's echoing and it's kind of quite noise or booming.
So I assume we all come down into this hall or chamber, maybe would be the better word for it.
So
Yeah. Quoth will.
after, as soon as we saw that, I would be in the temple, would go back to say, Quoth, this is your neck of the woods down here.
Yeah, and I think Quoth sort of has scurried in his sort of looking wide mouthed around the place. Wow, this is fascinating. This place must be ancient, but it's still it's fascinating. It's beautiful and it seems relatively well preserved. I'll have to document it all. Well, maybe not all. I mean, it would probably take quite a long time, but yes, and we'll start kind of pacing around and sketching things from various angles and.
Would this be a moment to take a break, maybe?
Yeah, sure thing. We can take a quick break. Yeah, we can hang back now. So yeah, sure. Say everyone to come back. Come back at 20 past, and we'll pick things up there.
Okay. Thank you.
See you all back in a few minutes.
Okay.
Awesome. Yes. So we are kind of in this gallery in the ruins of the temple underneath the sands. I think we can. We've got the light from the above. We've got the sound of water in the distance. I guess. What are people up to, do you think, or how are people reacting to this?
I think now that we're in and it doesn't look, nothing scary's happened, Dom's starting to get the urge to explore and see what's around there and nose around. See if there's anything interesting, but also that water, because we've come a long way in some hot weather, so I'd imagine a nice cool drink would be good as well. I think it's just time to wander around a bit, poking at things, looking around, seeing if there's anything interesting.
What about Barnaby? Is Barnaby following the sound of this water as well?
That would be predictable for Barnaby. And I think maybe the sound of the water takes them deeper down. Maybe both he and Dom are kind of following the sound to the far end of the gallery, and where the walls of the seem less kind of finished. Before they were more like cut stone, and now they look more kind of like natural cave-like structures, even though there are also stalactites here. And there's kind of an incline down as if we're going down deeper. And as we go deeper, it also gets cooler, which is attractive to Barnaby. And there's still enough light coming from the fireflies that he can see his way. But it's definitely shadowier here, damper, and the sound of water seems to be getting louder.
And I think Quoth, what do you think you're getting up to as these two hair off into the depths?
I think that Quoth is probably once again kind of lost in his own world, making notes and drawing sketches of this place and kind of talking to himself. So I think I think he doesn't immediately notice that they've left.
Yeah, I think maybe you spot this stalagmite that looks like all of the deposits have kind of made it into something like a statue, but then slowly, as you examine it, you kind of realize that maybe this is its original form. Maybe this is the Slobbering God. Maybe its strangeness is part of its whole shtick, right?
Yeah, awesome. And yeah, I think sorry, I keep getting lost in the tabs.
That's the real danger of this game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. That this, I think it's in fact even that the original statue might actually be like under the deposit. So it's like the stalactite is like formed around the statue. It's been kind of in this state for so long that it's almost like a cocoon over the statue. And I think kind of Quoth is kind of feeling it and can kind of feel the contrast between these deposits and the odd bit of whatever stone the actual statue itself might have been made out of. And I think this does confirm to, at least in Quoth's mind, that this place is indeed of importance to the Slobbering God. It's not just a rumor. I'm going to spend a token on that. But yes, I think that's. But yes, that is definitely going to keep Quoth's attention for a little while. There's probably almost that temptation to like try and chip away at the stalactite to reveal the statue beneath, but I think Quoth restrains himself because it's kind of what it has become is as important as what it once was.
Awesome. For Barnaby and Dom, sorry, I keep forgetting our weasel's name. I think the path you're on, there's maybe like a crevice that starts to widen right beside the path, and maybe that's where you can kind of see some depths, some really dark and deep shadows where you can hear water trickling kind of ever stronger as you continue onwards. Yeah, and I think the deeper and deeper you get, the wider that crevice gets and the kind of more torrential that water sounds, at least. I think maybe you get to this bridge. Maybe it's not entirely constructed. Maybe it's a little bit of a mishmash of kind of natural cave features and some jury-rigged elements that fit on top.
Mm-hmm. And the bridge is over a pool of water, actually.
Yeah, so I think it's this really dark pool, maybe like a moonless night on a river, kind of dark. But it's definitely water. You get some kind of maybe the odd glisten of it from a firefly that's gone this deep.
So I imagine Barnaby like at the just at the beginning of the stone bridge, just on the first few steps, looking over the edge and looking into the water. He assumes it's water. He can feel that it's water, but he can't really see it well. It's just this kind of almost faint glisten across the surface, and then almost like a ghostly image of his own face looking back at him. It's kind of the same color as like Barnaby's eyes too, which are like big black, glistening. It's all staring all back at him. And let's see, what are all these things? What is it about that unnerves me?
You obviously want me to ask you that specific question.
Oh, that's right. Oh, someone has to ask that question of another person. Oh, I see. Sorry. I got it wrong. I thought I had to ask myself that question.
Yeah, I mean, you're fishing literally and metaphorically for a token. I dig that.
Sorry. I've got plenty of tokens. I don't need more tokens.
Well, yeah. What about Dom? Like you see Barnaby staring into the depths. What are you doing?
So I think Dom, that he was sort of caught up in the wanderlust a bit, and the sort of the water and things, and now he's here. He's pausing a bit, and Barnaby's almost like lost in a trance at the water, and it's all a bit dark, and suddenly he's just looking around and realizing how far he's gone from Quoth, and maybe more importantly from Tal, the big tough guy who's something bad's happened that you might want to be stood behind, and starting to feel a bit smaller and not so confident in this sort of place, and a strange feeling about what's the other side of the bridge, even from here, it kind of feels different, like it's crossing something, or that maybe you shouldn't go to the side without thinking about all the consequence, or it means like maybe a portentous kind of move. Like if you cross over, it's something's gonna change or happen, or so he's just looking and feeling a bit smaller and a bit more nervous than he was moments ago.
I think our hermit, or cautious hermit, will make herself known. Fran the fox is like right behind you, Dom, as you kind of look around and
look at you like that.
And she says, your friend is about to see something quite unwelcome. I should go. You should go rescue him.
Okay. So, edge back, kind of not want to take my eyes off this fox, and kind of Barnaby, Barnaby. Go.
Barnaby
Yeah.
snaps out of it a little bit
Yeah.
and says, "Oh!" And he backs up from the edge of the the bridge there,
Yeah.
looking down.
So Jose, you should answer that question now. You know, you were what about your reflection or the lack of your reflection unnerved you in that dark pool below?
Let's see. I think what Barnaby saw was he saw his reflection, and then he saw it. What's the right word? And dissolve. That's the word. Dissolve, like and spread out and almost become nothing, like become just fall into the blackness of an abyss. And I think Barnaby was seeing kind of some kind of vision of his own death or annihilation or dissolution. That's the word I was looking for, dissolution. And that's what scared him and unnerved him. So he's a little shaken now.
Yeah. Do you think any of your gods would have peeked out and seen something unnerving also? Or?
Actually, I think what happens is when Barnaby does step back from it, the edge, when Dom helps him get back from the edge, one of his gods does come out, one that hasn't come out just yet. Nadir, he's the god of a single shadow, and he tends to be invisible and in the background. And Barnaby's shocked that he's actually come out. He never comes out. He's always kind of in hiding. But he steps out, and it's almost like the darkness below is akin to him, or it's almost like they're made of the same kind of substance. And Barnaby's never noticed that before. Well, he's never noticed anything that's like Nadir, that shadowy substance. And I think maybe Nadir feels very much at home here. And so I think he doesn't really speak as much as kind of give Barnaby impressions of what he wants and how he's feeling. And I think there's a sense that Nadir is asking Barnaby at this moment whether he could stay here in this place. He feels at home here. And so Barnaby's really surprised, but he can feel the rightness of it. And then he just reaches out and touches Nadir. I don't know if other people can actually see Nadir really very well. I don't know exactly what Dom sees, but Barnaby reaches out his paw and touches darkness, really, which there's plenty of in this cave, and as a kind of quiet or silent goodbye to Nadir. And then Nadir dissolves into the blackness that's underneath the bridge in the water.
Yeah, I think maybe Dom couldn't see, but could sense that there was something there, and then it went, and it was kind of like a solemn moment. You know, he couldn't really. If you asked him what he saw, he wouldn't be able to tell you. Right.
And I think this is actually the first time that Barnaby's let go of a god of a god in his care. And so I think it's a big moment in his caretaker career for this to be happening. So he feels quite moved, and he goes silent.
Right, so Dom's there. So Barnaby's kind of some things from Barnaby's twat and probably should be left given a few moments, but he's sort of remembering that this fox appeared out of nowhere in the darkness, not far away from them, and this place seemed empty. So he's so well. He's going to introduce himself. That's Dom the Weasel, traveling vagabond. And who might you be? But he's, as he said, he's trying to kind of like trying to raise his voice a little bit, but not without hoping to travel and maybe send a signal.
The subject is help. We have met some strange people.
Hoping it travels out a little bit further, get some attention. Yes, but yes, asking a wise person who clearly lives in this cave that I suspect are very wise and noble. Who might you be, and why, and what is this place?
So Fran nods at Barnaby as she kind of takes in the departing shadow of Nadir, and sits down on her pack and kind of nods to herself like something has happened that she knew was going to happen. My name is Fran. I'm a hermit, but you knew that. There's no one else here until, I was alone until you arrived. Were you intending to cross that bridge, or was that something you had not thought through?
No, we were just having a look. I think we've come a long way in the heat. We heard the sound of water and were following it. But now I don't really think I do want to cross the bridge, at least not without knowing more. What is this place? Where are we?
Oh, this is the end of everything. The end of you, of gods, of the world. Take your pick. All of the above. Something like that.
Dom is trying not slowly sort of stepping back off the bridge, which is gently Barnaby, because Barnaby is still in a bit of a sort of daze, so taking a few steps back. So we're clearly sort of off the bridge there. But
well, let's
everything. It's really not the end of everything.
Well, the end of everything that's on this side of the bridge.
He knows the answer when he says it. He can feel it, but it's just more. It's as much trying to convince himself than anyone else.
I mean, it's never too late to turn around from crossing the bridge until it is too late.
Very oracular.
I was feeling a bit out of his depths on this. It's like I've got a friend. He's a raven. He knows all this sort of stuff. He'll know what this is all about. This is probably what he's been looking for. And so I just sort of try and call up, Quoth, Tal, come. I think there's something you need to see. And, of course, is too busy still, lost in his explorations and investigations. But
Yeah, I think maybe that there's that moment of like hearing kind of Dom's voice echoing up through the caverns where sort of Quoth kind of turns around and says, yes, did you say something? Oh, where's everyone gone? And yeah, it's going to kind of start heading down towards where you are.
so yeah, I think they'll be trying to make some awkward small talk. So you've been here long? So just sort of like
for you,
Barnaby
yes.
is the more the mystical, sort of the spiritual one, but he's kind of had his thing and he's a bit out of it and crossed the knowledgeable one, and he's feeling a bit like, why me?
Why do I have to talk to the hermit?
Everything. I only wanted to find a bit of treasure.
I think Barnaby's also so Barnaby's sitting by himself over near the where the bridge begins. He's just come off of it, and he's pulled out some yarn. So one of his gods, Ravel, is a god of I think it's tangled yarn. Yeah, tangled yarn. And she's cheerful, and she's trying to cheer him up a bit, helping him to look on the bright side. That's one of the things that she does. So he's just kind of has got the yarn in his paws. He's kind of almost doing a little cat's cradle kind of thing with her, and meditating upon the tangle of the yarn, and that's soothing him, I think, a bit. But he's still out of it. Where's Tal in all of this?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe back closer to the entrance of the cave. I said I would put them off screen if I'm kind of being more GM-ful.
I see.
in this location.
That's right, because you're playing Fran. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Quoth arrives after a while. You're not that far away. And
Yeah.
you see this old fox in kind of traveling robes, or sitting on a backpack or whatever in the middle of the track down to this bridge.
Oh, hello. I didn't realize we had other people here. Hello, my name's Quoth. How did you find your way down here? It's somewhat a secluded place, isn't it?
Secluded places are amongst the best places for hermits to reside, I find. Not that it's terrible to have company, but no one lasts down here very long, one way or the other.
Oh, you're a hermit. That must be very interesting.
Let's talk about
what,
it.
what brought you here on your quest for solitude and enlightenment and such like?
And I think she looks down at her hind paws. Well, I mean, I suppose I followed my feet. But really, I followed some prophecies, some inkling of what could be here in the future. I followed a whistling.
Oh, I see. That's interesting. Prophecies. That's. Do you have any? I could take a note of them if you like. I'm something of a scribe in some ways. I could take down any insight or wisdom you have, distribute it more widely if you would like. I understand that obviously that sort of thing can be somewhat troublesome for hermits with the lack of human contact and all that. So if I can provide that service, I'd be more than happy to do so for you.
I don't like my projections to be written down. I think it's a mistake. Because once you write it down, you're not around to interpret it. Who knows what'll happen to it?
I suppose when you put it like that, it's never really bothered me before. I suppose I always just assume that once I finish something and get it out there, then it will just take on a life of its own and become its own thing.
Exactly. I mean, I presume you've talked to people before.
Oh, lots.
You find they always understand exactly what you mean?
If I keep talking long enough, usually yes.
More is more.
More is more. Wow.
Dom chips in. He can talk for a long time.
So long as you are with your histories, then there's nothing to fear. But once they're placed in the library or the collection of some queen, who knows what will persist.
I suppose I'd not thought of it like that. I mean, I suppose I always just never thought too much about who might actually read my writings or what they'll do with them after. It's more the writing of them themselves that concerns me, I suppose. I mean, obviously, it helps get paid sometimes, but that's not really a very frequent part of the whole process, unfortunately.
That does put a dampener on things. Well, here's hoping nobody reads your histories then.
Well, yes, and the truth be told, I've got to actually finish writing them first, which that's always the problem with writing histories. There's always more of it.
Everything you dig up just unearths something else to be dug up.
Yes, exactly. And there's so many interesting stories, and then you get the stories of all the people you meet when you're finding the history, and before you know it, you've got pages and pages of this stuff.
And here you are at the end of the world, digging up the corpse of the Slobbering God for for
I didn't dig it up.
on commission.
I left it where it was.
So I'm right in assuming none of you are going to drink the water across the bridge.
Oh, what's on the other side of the bridge?
You missed that part.
Don't go over the bridge. Apparently, it's the end of everything. I mean, everything.
That sounds quite exciting. I've never seen the end of everything before.
I mean, I think if you cross, you won't see anything.
And we hear a cackle from across the cave. And Barnaby strolls up, and he's got the yarn in between his hands. It's the cackle of oh wait, what's her name? I just lost it. Ravel. Ravel. And then we hear in a little witchy voice, Ravel say to Fran, those who are too enamored of their own inscrutability may become lost in a web of meaninglessness. And she's using her witchy ability, which is point out a personality flaw someone hasn't been dealing with. If they're right, put a curse on them. If they want to get rid of the curse, they have to address their flaw. So I think she just cursed Fran the hermit. Although, no, we have to decide whether she's right or not.
So you're so in order to avoid the flaw, or the curse rather, Fran will have to tell you exactly what happens if you cross the bridge.
She will have to stop being so enamored of her inscrutability. Speak plainly, dearie.
Yeah. So I think Fran whistles something, and some fireflies zip over to her, and you can see these kind of stalagmite areas on the bridge, and I think they remind Quoth, given that he has been examining this statue earlier, of that. And Fran points out that these statues are gods who crossed the bridge enough to come to an end.
All right, I'll let you off the hook for that one.
Oh, that's fascinating. That these gods should be frozen in time like this. How very yes, and Quoth will start making some notes.
And I think maybe she goes even further and says, as you cross, even time will come to an end. And your existence your memories, your life will pass into nothing before you reach there. One step or two might be safe, I wouldn't go further.
I think I saw a shadow of that, friends, and I don't think it was very much fun. I wouldn't suggest crossing the bridge. Did you say something, Neil?
I was like, yeah. Dom was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Dom is somewhere to be, an important lunch date.
But he's curious. So Fran, are you just going to stay here, or are you guarding the bridge?
I mean, guarding the bridge from what?
Oh,
From foolish people like us who might cross it unawares.
yeah. Or warning people.
Oh, no. I mean, that's up to you. I mean, I didn't stop you. I just, told your friend, the weasel, that they might want to stop you from, getting too close. You'd fall in. It'd be terrible.
Thank you for that. Do you smoke, Fran? And he holds up this little package of the cigarettes that Gus, the merchant donkey, gave him with the little sheep on it. It's his favorite cigarettes. But he's thinking of maybe giving it as a gift to Fran for saving his life.
I'm not sure.
Try these. I didn't smoke before I tried these. I think you'll like them too. And he hands her the pack of cigarettes, herbal cigarettes of some sort, to be determined.
Because a hermit really needs something extra to make them go off the deep end.
It's good. I find it good for when I'm trying to sort my thoughts out. And I think you could use some sorting of your thoughts.
Okay. I think, the inscrutable oracle seems a little bit confused by that. So maybe that provokes another cackle from Ravel.
Cackle from Ravel. Is there any water here that we could drink or swim in that would not make us come to an end?
I think if you go, so I think she reaches into one of her packs and she has this like a travel mug with this like fishing line tied onto it, and like if you go back to the start of the ravine or the crevasse, she like describes, maybe it's like a narrow rectangle travel cup, and so like if you like leave it down into the crevasse, it'll fill up with water. But you have to go as far back as you can.
Away from the pool, you mean?
Away from the
bridge.
Pool. Yeah.
You don't want that water.
You don't want that water. So yeah, I think she kind of maybe goes back with you a bit of ways and shows you the trick and lets you drink your fill. But yeah, I think it's like really cold and maybe there's a hint of salt. I mean, like a hint. It's not really salty water, but like maybe it's just the kind of calcified stuff from the cave. Yeah, it tastes really cold.
So I imagine, Barnaby gets really into that trick, dropping it down, filling it up, bringing it back up, drinking it until he can't drink anymore, and then he fills his canteen with it. He has a sea blue, green, a sea green canteen. So he fills that up with the cold water as well. He says, "Friends, are any of you thirsty? I have lots of water now." Thanks to Fran, the hermit.
Me too. Yeah, me. So,
Maybe we get a little carried away. Barnaby's like splashing the water over Dom's head. There might be some playfulness ensuing.
So, yeah, after a deep thing there, just to sort of release the tension and play around and have a laugh. And
Yeah, cold water really puts Barnaby into a much better mood. He puts Ravel away so that she won't make any more witchy comments or cackles.
This is the most otter-like he's been in quite a while, I guess.
Right. He's actually wet with cold water.
So I guess we've probably gotten enough out of Fran, have we?
yes, I think
Mm-hmm.
we'll probably head back up to the original cave with the fireflies. We've got our water. Go back and see what Tal was been doing in the meantime.
Yeah, maybe you find Tal back outside at the ruined temple. Maybe looking at these abandoned blades twisted into the crumbling pillars. Maybe he's just kind of walking from one to the next with a curious professional eye.
Barnaby bounds up and says, Tal, we met a hermit and I almost fell into a deep pool and died, but I didn't. And Ravel almost gave a curse, but she didn't. But there's water if you're thirsty.
Why not? Why not? Like a hermit crab?
Was there a hermit crab?
It was a hermit fox.
Oh, it was a hermit fox. It was a hermit fox.
I think you see Tal maybe try to figure out how a fox would fit inside a shell for a moment.
What have you been doing, Tal?
Been looking at these swords.
Do you recognize any of them? I mean, not like necessarily personally, but are there any that sort of you recognize from legend? Or I mean, I must admit, I don't know how old all of them are. I've not done a full audit yet. It seems like most of them are quite old, but maybe some of them are newer. I don't know if this is like a pilgrimage site for people who want to abandon their swords or something similar. It could just be. Well, I mean, I hardly think it's coincidence, but there's obviously some reason why there are so many swords here.
I mean, what I heard is that each of these were made the same time for the same purpose as the Heaven Blade. And these are the blades that failed.
That's interesting. There could have been so many different heroes had things gone a different way. It's very interesting. Thank you, Tal.
I mean, I'm not sure if you always talk about the nameless hero, right?
Yes, yes.
I wonder if any of these had names.
And I think with that, Tal's actually going to start. Sorry, Tal. So Quoth is going to start inspecting, like some of the swords, seeing if they have kind of any inscriptions on the pommel that might identify who they belong to. I think most of them, even if they did at one stage, are probably so pitted with salt corrosion that there's probably no sign left, even if there had at one time been.
Yeah, I wonder if if I spend a token to reveal something important about the place you're in, if I haven't already done that, maybe Tal shows you a trick to kind of take the hilt off some of these swords and like see if there's any markings on the tang. Maybe some smith marks or something that identifies the owner or something like that.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it. Yeah, and I think Quoth is going to kind of excited by this new avenue of investigation, and is going to start kind of taking rubbings of the maker's marks inside the blades.
Is Dom wondering if he could sell any of these for
maybe
a good price?
He's kind of like a little bent and battered. I don't know. He's kind of thinking he needs a bent sword. I think he's given up on any hope of treasure, to be honest. He's just kind of off at this point.
There might be some of these, pommels might have some valuable material on them or something. You never know.
Maybe appeared a bit of a when you were showing Quoth, sort of like
looking over his shoulder.
Maybe it's there. Maybe there's any.
Maybe he asked Quoth, do any of these have any value, perhaps, Quoth?
I mean, I'm sure to a collector they'd have some value. I mean, they are ancient after all, and but whether you could convince them that was actually true or not, or to convince them of the provenance of them, I'm not so sure.
I think Dom will probably maybe take one, but before he does, he's kind of pause and just kind of look around and sort of, I'm just going, you don't mind if I just take this, do you? So like no one in particular, just kind of feeling a bit.
I think maybe if you return to Flickerstone, you might find someone who has a knick-knack box of handles.
Yeah, I think so. It's a bit wary about if there's any sort of side effects of taking these. It's feeling a bit, but maybe you can't resist just taking one, even if it's just for a souvenir.
I wonder, do we want to take a quick break?
I was about to suggest that, yeah. So if we want to come back about 20 past, and then we'll pick things up again there.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool.
See you in a bit.
So yeah, so we're kind of in our last, well, probably not quite an hour, but last little bit of the game now. I guess I'll ask now. I mean, I'm happy for us to just sort of continue on with where we were, but I'm just interested in if there are any other scenes or moments that people want to be kind of angling towards with where we're going.
I don't think so. I think it, well, at least for Dom, maybe he feels like, reached the end. It's one of those things that, you go somewhere, and what it does, it makes you realize more what you had where you started, as much as what you found at the end. I think it feels like one of those that maybe he's started to think, it wasn't so bad back where we left.
Excellent.
This out of going to exciting places, all good in theory, but now I'm starting to appreciate maybe the value of where we left. So I think his mind's starting to think back that way, and even though maybe he didn't find anything here, but he's actually got a lesson in a way from.
I also. Oh, go ahead.
I was about to say, like, the edge of the world is all very well, but there's no nightlife there.
Moving right along. I'm imagining, I don't know if this is the right place for it just now, but I imagine that while we've been in here, it's kind of come to twilight or dusk, and the stars are beginning to come out. Maybe the moon has come out. And I was thinking about the long walks in the evening, that our walk back, maybe if it's lit by the moon, it would be much cooler, and there'd be fireflies, and there'd be something like really beautiful about that walk through the salt flats and the ruins, with the fireflies out at twilight and the moon just rising, and the coolness in the air. After all the heat during the day.
Maybe the fireflies that go in the cave during the day, but when
it gets cooler, they come out. Yeah, yeah. Because that's when you notice fireflies, right? It's in at twilight. Yeah, that's where I always remember seeing them.
Yeah, that's I like that as a kind of as we're kind of heading back out of these ruins and back across the salt plains, back to the road, and I think Quoth is saying, that was really fascinating, and we met, it was great to meet a real live hermit as well. It's really it's always seemed like an interesting vocation. It must be so nice to get away from all the hustle and bustle and constant noise of other people around you all the time. I can't and
I think Tal says, I can't imagine either.
She didn't seem lonely at all. Although she did have many things to say to us. Maybe she'd been saving them up for a while, since she doesn't speak to people very often. And maybe when they came out, they were so confusing because she was so excited to speak to us. I didn't understand anything she said. Did you, Quoth? You're smarter than I am.
I don't know. I'd go that far, but I'm still a little curious about that bridge, and whether it was just a metaphor or well, I mean, not that it wasn't. I mean, it looked like a real bridge. I mean, it wasn't a metaphorical bridge, but whether the whole ending of all things was a metaphor or not. Maybe I should have tested it out, but I'd rather not find out that it wasn't. So
The hard way.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Some things are best. Some questions are best left unanswered, I feel.
Or maybe unanswerable.
And we can always leave it as a sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Like a sort of
A
thing
hook for a sequel.
Yes, exactly.
There's another cackle coming in from somewhere on Barnaby's person somewhere, and he's like turns red. Sorry, she does that quite a bit when she's feeling gregarious.
I wonder if maybe as we are kind of approaching the road again, there's maybe like a caravan that has sort of settled down for the evening, sort of around a fire as we approach.
Yeah, and we asked to join them. So who's in this caravan? Wait, what do we have for animals in this place? Iguanas. It's a caravan of iguanas. Merchant iguanas.
Yeah.
Business iguanas.
I think maybe the wagons on them have these like great, really big hoops that go really high up in the air, and they're kind of mysterious right now. But maybe they're to hold bats, right? There's
for bats.
Yeah. Maybe full person bats, right? Who are off flying right now. Maybe gathering fireflies or something for a fair.
Mm. Yeah, maybe there's some bats who act as like the caravan guards, who guard the camp at night.
Right. And I'm imagining there's one iguana that is kind of like, she's kind of the matriarch merchant iguana, and she is like holding court with the other iguanas, telling stories of, riches that used to exist in this land before it was decimated by the tears.
Yeah, I have to imagine maybe the iguana bat formation is really good for the iguanas. I imagine are maybe a bit lazier during the night, right? If we lean into that cold-blooded trope, right?
Maybe for now, just as it's twilight, there's still just a bit of before they settle down for the night. It cools down around the fires, telling stories and things.
Yeah, and I think probably like even though it's like the dead of night, we're out in the middle of nowhere. There's like we're not even in a town where there might be lamps or whatever. So I think we get a sense of whatever the Milky Way passes for in Wanderhome, right? This kind of huge pattern in the sky that maybe we don't see that all that often.
And as Barnaby looks up at the sky and all the stars, he says, the blackness that I saw in that pool in the cave is it's a lot like the blackness between the stars. And seemed like it could go on forever. There was something peaceful about it, but also scary. But right now, looking at the sky, I don't feel scared at all. I hope Nadir is happy in his new home.
I suppose it's a bit like that bridge where right now, as you say, I was scared of what would happen if I crossed it. But there might come a time when I wouldn't be scared and I could take those steps. It's the same maybe with that emptiness in the stars and in the waters, that one day when the time is right, it may feel like a comfort, like all those gods who passed into nothingness.
And I think the nameless ancient god, the hurt one, in this quiet moment, comes out, and Barnaby takes his canteen and pours a little bit of water in a little indentation in a stone for him to drink some water. Because he doesn't normally come out at all. But there's something about the quiet of this night and the grandeur of the sky that makes him feel at home. The iguanas have all fallen asleep because they got too cold. They've just slowed down to nothing. And maybe the bats are returning.
Yeah, that was fed, and the fire's starting to get a bit lower. It's embers. I think Dom has managed to acquire a bottle of some drink and some cups from, maybe best not to ask,
a nightcap.
Back, and just sort of hands them out to everyone and pours everyone a drink. So we're like the only ones still up, sat around a fire, having a drink. And just the stars overhead.
Would the camera pull out at that point?
Yeah, I feel like that's a good time, a good point to leave things at, unless anyone has any last words.
Yeah, just imagine the camera panning backwards, and then the dying fire getting lighter, more and more faint, and the enormity of the sky, the black sky with the Milky Way, or whatever passes as the Milky Way in the galaxy of Wanderhome. Yeah. And the fade to black.
Yeah, awesome. So I think the last thing I'd like to do before we finish up is just to do like a little well, not so much an epilogue scene as in an ending, but kind of more like the the sort of like next season on snippet of your character, one of their like kind of something we see of them in the future sort of thing. And then I'll start off with Quoth, and I think we see Quoth being chased by some of the Lynx Queen's guards, clutching a big leather-bound book in his arms, trailing loose pages behind him as he flees from them.
That history is too dangerous to deliver, huh? I think the detail to add for Tal is maybe we see him like sitting on a dock, mending nets, and maybe much more proficiently than we have seen in the past. Maybe doing it with an like right beside a fishing boat or something, and maybe we hear someone exclaim that the peddler's in town, and maybe Tal will be getting up to meet them all, as maybe a group of travelers is going to come into the town to catch up with them on their more recent travels.
Yeah, and I get an image for some reason of just a follow up on that scene of when Tal does catch up with our business donkey. Barnaby's riding on the top of Atlas. He didn't used to get to do that, but now that the special netting is there, he can ride around on the top of Atlas, and yeah, and enjoy, like feeling like he's king of the mountain now, with Joe and Pete and Sam, causing raucous chaos all over Atlas's body as they toss things out, and Gus scolds them. Still uncontrollable. Not controlled by Barnaby. Some things never change.
I think Dom, maybe after being a vagabond and wandering around, maybe he's really been wandering more to get away from what he left behind, and now maybe he's decided that it's about time to maybe wander to find somewhere to settle down, or to go back, or even to go back to his home for the first time in years. So I can see him like cresting over the hill and looking down into he can see sort of his hometown in the distance for the first time. So I can maybe face the music that he probably should have done a long time ago, but has been avoiding.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun both tonight and for the run as a whole. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop our recording now.